Happy International Data Privacy Day of 2025. In this video, I'm going to be covering two topics: what we as individuals can do with our own data, and what we as website owners can do to respect the privacy rights of our website visitors. So I'm going to jump into the first part right out the gate, and this is really the core essence of Data Privacy Day, which is raising awareness of what we as individuals can do with regard to protecting our own data. So I have two recommendations for us all as individuals. Use today to go reset some passwords. Log in to some of those platforms you always log into, whether it's your emails or Amazon or any other third-party system that you find yourself logging into on a recurring basis, and take the time to reset your password. That one action could have tremendous impact for you in the future in case one of those companies were to have a data breach and your passwords get leaked to third-party companies. So I highly recommend take some time, reset your passwords. What an easy way to do that, and a great start to your year. The other recommendation I have is to delete your data from any third-party platforms that you no longer use. I think we're all guilty as charged where we've maybe signed up for a subscription to some platform and then we ultimately canceled and we didn't really do anything after that. But as website visitors, we do have some rights, and certainly some of us have more rights than others under actual law, but most website owners these days will just respect your request and delete your data if they ask you to. So reach out to these companies that you no longer work with. Ask them like, hey, if you have any data on me, if you could delete it, that'd be great, in honor of International Data Privacy Day. That's just less areas where your own personal data is being stored. And with companies you no longer work with, it makes complete sense to remove that data. Okay, that's my recommendations for individuals, myself included. I need to take some time to do that myself. And I think every year in January is a great time to do it, right during International Data Privacy Day. But what about website owners? I think we as website owners have taken the last couple years to implement third-party tools and features that we didn't necessarily understand fully about what it is collecting about our own website visitors' data. And these aren't bad things, don't get me wrong. For example, I love YouTube videos. I love YouTube. But when we embed YouTube videos onto websites, we are having our website visitors their data get taken and shared with companies like Google to load those videos, sure, but also potentially for tracking purposes. And therein lies why I have 5 recommendations for website owners for privacy-friendly alternatives you can consider implementing into your website to protect and regulate and respect the privacy rights of your individual website visitors. Okay, so number 1, actually, let's talk about video embeds. I think it's so easy to embed a YouTube video, a Vimeo video, or any other third-party video host into a website. They make it super easy, and that's not a bad thing. These video tools are excellent. I have nothing negative to say about them other than, is it truly necessary that we are embedding a third-party technology into the website and then sharing data with those third-party companies? If you have the option to, consider locally storing those videos on your website server. Now, if you're sitting there being like, well, videos are going to slow down my website, I'd say that oftentimes I find that to not be the case, but it is absolutely, it does happen for sure. So in those situations, maybe you set up a separate host to load those videos, or at the very least, consider using the privacy-friendly alternatives that both YouTube and Vimeo provide. So YouTube has like a YouTube no cookie website URL that you can use instead of the youtube.com embed. And Vimeo offers a do not track parameter you can add to the URLs. The second thing is to load fonts locally. So if you're using Google Fonts, for example, and you're making a call to Google to load those fonts, you're sharing user data with third parties yet again. And that's a surprise to a lot of people. But the reality is in 2022, Google Fonts was found to be non-compliant with GDPR, a privacy law that protects and regulates the personal data of EU residents. And so this is even more reason to consider an alternative. And an excellent alternative here is to go to fonts.google.com, download the fonts that you want to use, and upload them as custom fonts to your website's theme or custom font area of your website. That is such a great way to practice privacy and have a privacy-friendly website because you're no longer sharing data with third parties just to load a font on your website. The third item, which I need to look at my notes here, checkboxes on forms. So when you have a contact form on your website or an email newsletter sign up, it is best practice to get a timestamp the moment that user consented to having their data get collected. And that is why having a checkbox that is unselected by default, but make it a required field where it says something like, I agree to the privacy policy, where you hyperlink and open in a new tab a link to the privacy policy. That is an excellent way to ensure that you've timestamped and captured the moment someone consented to having their data get collected, and also often shared. A lot of website owners are like, I don't share any data. But the reality is, if you receive an email in your email inbox after someone submits a contact form inquiry, well, you've shared data with your third-party email service provider, whether it's Gmail, G Suite, Outlook, Microsoft 365. These aren't bad things. They're just reality that sharing data is extremely common. And that's just one of many examples. A newsletter subscription form. When someone submits their email to sign up for your newsletter, you're likely sharing that data with MailChimp, Constant Contact, or any other third-party email marketing software you're using to send those newsletters to people. So have a checkbox with your forms, having them agree to your policies, and yet again, you followed a really good privacy practice. The fourth item, again, I'm looking at my notes, have a consent solution for any third-party technologies you use on the website. Now, a consent solution has gained popularity after Europe's GDPR passed. There's also the UK Data Protection Act, Canada's PIPEDA, Quebec Law 25, and we have a series of US state-specific laws passing that are requiring consent under some certain circumstances. What a lot of people don't realize is that there's also privacy laws like CIPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act, a 30-year-old privacy law that opportunistic attorneys are utilizing to send demand letters to website owners for noncompliance with that law, asking for $50,000 or more in damages. It's scary stuff. Lawsuits like CIPA, how do you prevent that in the first place? Add a cookie consent solution to your website, have users opted out by default, at least visitors from California in this example, and only allow those third-party technologies to load after a user's consent. What's a third-party technology? A YouTube video embed. We're using a third party to load that video. That is a third-party script that receives data on your website visitor. Live chat scripts. Excellent example. Most third-party live chat providers are tracking the user on the website, obviously to provide good customer support and know what page is this user on when they're submitting an inquiry, but that is a form of tracking, and getting consent to these things is just such a good privacy practice. Last but not least, keep your policies up to date. Who would have guessed that's my final recommendation? But coming from Termageddon, this one's a little near and dear to my heart. Keeping your privacy policy up to date demonstrates your respect, ongoing respect for people's privacy rights. Look, we all want rights too. We don't want to receive spam text messages like I'm sure we all do. We don't want to receive spam emails or phone calls either, and we can't want that, but also not be respecting our own website visitors' data. And one of those very important aspects is to keep your policies up to date with your own business practices, but also with the changing privacy law landscape we now all live in. Privacy laws are passing at an accelerated rate. Proposed laws are being amended more and more. And so having a strategy in place to keep your policies up to date may be an excellent strategy to consider. Obviously, tools like Termageddon, where we auto-update policies when laws change and notify you of those changes, could be an excellent, affordable option. But also a privacy attorney who monitors laws for you and keeps your policies up to date is also a great solution for those who can afford it. Anyways, happy International Data Privacy Day. I hope this video was helpful both for us as individuals and for us as website owners.